Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into
Those who
it.
only recently got behind the wheel of their own car often wonder what fuel is better to fill the gas tank, and whether. There is a significant difference between different brands of gasoline. Some are sure that the more money they spend on expensive fuel, the better it will affect the engine of their car. And if the manufacturer advises to pour AI-95, then the question arises whether it can be replaced by the brand AI-98, and what such a transition will lead to. This is the right position, because these types of gasoline with a high octane number are indeed currently the best. It is much more rational to fill AI-92 gasoline instead of the recommended 95. Many car owners want to know what is better to use, 95 or 98 gasoline, as well as what is the difference between them and what will result from mixing two brands of fuel. Features of fuel production. Before discussing the difference between the two brands of fuel and the nuances of their mixing, it is necessary to understand the essence of the production of fuel that is used to refuel our cars. Everyone knows very well that fuel is obtained by refining oil. This is a well-known fact, which is not worth dwelling on. But there is a more interesting question concerning the octane number. It is wrong to believe that when refining petroleum products, the fuel immediately gets an octane number of 92, 95, or 98. If we look at the peculiarities of obtaining fuel from oil, without going into technological subtleties, they are divided into two categories. Old method. This method was based on the procedure of direct distillation of petroleum products, something similar to making moonshine. First, light fractions are vaporized, after which condensate is formed. This method allows to get fuel with octane number not higher than 50 to 60 units. To increase it, it was necessary to use an extensive list of additives. Currently, this method has been almost completely abandoned. With its help, it is simply impossible to obtain the octane number of the required level. Plus, the fuel does not reach the current actual -5 € requirement. The new method. Here the cracking method is applied. Basically, it is a thermal or catalytic type of cracking. Petroleum products are decomposed into different groups of hydrocarbons by pressure or other formulas. This is a technologically complex process that allows to achieve a much higher volume and quality of the final product. Thanks to this technique, the base fuel has an octane number of 70 to 80 units, which significantly reduces the amount of additional additives. It is impossible not to mention the existence of a methodology, with the help of which it is possible to obtain an octane number of 92 after oil processing. This method is called catalytic reforming. Such a method of production is not used in our country. Plus, it immediately increases the initial cost of fuel. So it is not economically profitable for most enterprises to use catalytic reforming. The hydrocracking method is much cheaper to implement, although the degree of oil purification is lower. In case of high-quality production, it is possible to achieve octane number at the level of 82, 85 units. All missing octane number is increased by additives. Distinctive characteristics. To begin with, it is necessary to forget about the fact that a higher figure and an impressive cost directly indicate the superior quality of fuel. Allegedly, the higher the octane number and price, the better the engine will work. There are a lot of questions about the quality of gasoline in general lately. It is decreasing and prices are rising. If we take into account the technical characteristics, AI-95 does not differ much from the more expensive AI-98. There is no significant difference between the two brands. Therefore, it is logical to ask whether it is possible to pour 98 gasoline into your car instead of 95, and how much the new fuel will change the behavior of the vehicle. We will start from gas stations that sell really high-quality fuel, which is not diluted in order to reduce its cost price and to increase earnings on customers. This also suggests that the stated characteristics of 95 gasoline fully correspond to reality. In fact, under the guise of AI-95 is very often sold diluted with cheap additives. AI-92 gasoline or 95 fuel is supplemented with additives and sold as AI-98. The main difference between the two brands of gasoline is their octane number. The compression ratio depends on it. For 95 grade, the actual compression ratio is within 10 to 12.5 units. If we take into account the features of the 98 brand, then here the compression ratio is already 14.5 units. For the engine itself, such a difference is sometimes significant. Do not forget that different brands of fuel are filled with various additives and additives. They allow you to adapt the fuel to the appropriate types of power plants. Therefore, it is always advisable to take the octane factor into account. But there is another point that motorists actively discuss. Some are sure that the main difference between 98 and 95 gasoline is the difference in power. Allegedly, when using more high-octane gasoline, the power of the power plant increases if compared with the use of more standard AI-95. It is important to remember that such a statement is not true. The brand of fuel does not affect the dynamics or the number of horsepower. AI-98 is positioned as a new generation gasoline. This is the fuel of the next generation, adapted to work with powerful, boosted and turbocharged engines. Its distinguishing feature is a slower combustion process, and its engine will not be adapted to work with such fuel. Then the engine will not be able to function with normal performance for a long time. Problems with the fuel and exhaust systems will begin because the motor adapted to AI-95 will not be able to fully burn AI-98. Read also, drum and disc brakes. Differences, advantages, and disadvantages when visiting domestic gas stations. You can never be completely sure that you fill up exactly what you pay for. Quite often under the guise of AI-98 they sell fuel, which is actually AI-95 fuel diluted with special additives. Or it is another mixture that does not correspond to the real characteristics of high-octane fuel. The only way to check the true quality and octane number is to send samples to special laboratories. This requires not only time, but also money, as no one is going to check anything for free. Here the option of visiting the gas stations of large chains and well-known manufacturers saves the day. There are a number of companies in Russia that value their reputation, and therefore are not interested in selling under the guise of AI-98 some incomprehensible and potentially dangerous for cars mixture. But when you fill up at small gas stations, which you know nothing about and have never heard of, the probability of encountering a cheap fake is much higher. Such gas stations increase their profitability by artificially raising the octane number with all sorts of additives. And nobody checks what these additives are, what quality they are, and how much they have retained their effectiveness since the moment of production. Such gas stations should be visited only in the most exceptional cases, when you simply have no other option. And it is better to fill up a small volume and try to use it up by the time you reach a verified filling station. Mixing and possible consequences. Just a huge number of motorists ask questions regarding what will happen to their car if you fill the car with 98 instead of 95 gasoline, and whether it can be done at all. If you address such a question to the official representatives of oil refining companies, no one will give you a reasoned answer. Most of them simply refuse from any official comments. At the same time, you can find a large number of opinions, according to which mixing does not lead to anything bad. That is, mixed 95 and 98 gasoline had no effect on the behavior and operation of the engine, even if the driver mixed fuel in different proportions. Some added 98 to the residue of 95 to a full tank. Others simply combined it 50-50. For a number of people, the question of what will happen to their cars if you pour AI-98 gasoline instead of the recommended AI-95 remains relevant. It is not necessary to look for answers to the question among motorists or experts, but to pay attention to your own vehicle. Much depends on the particular car and its ignition system. On modern cars, the ignition system is able to automatically adjust to a particular type of fuel. This is monitored by appropriate sensors that send information to the electronic control unit. It already gives commands to the actuators, regulating the fuel supply and the formation of the fuel-air mixture for its optimal combustion in the combustion chamber. Carefully study the operating manual for your vehicle, read the technical documentation. If the automatic detonation sensor is really present, there will be absolutely nothing wrong with mixing 95 and 98 gasoline. The car will independently adjust the work of the elements so as to ensure efficient combustion of the mixture and maintain stable functioning of the engine depending on what kind of fuel was poured. That is, mixing will be safe only in a situation where the car has an automatic detonation sensor and the quality of the fuel being filled meets the declared parameters. If there is a need to mix 98 and 95 grades of fuel, it is better to do it at proven and well-proven gas stations. But only in such a scenario, there is no need to be afraid of mixing two different fuel brands by octane number. It should be taken into account that in many cars the ignition system is designed to work with a specific type of fuel. Its manufacturer usually indicates it on the inside of the gas tank hatch. Therefore, do not be lazy to look there before inserting the fuel gun at the gas station. If you mix 98 and 95 brands in such a situation, the mixture inside the gas tank will get a completely new octane number. In fact, it will be somewhere between 98 and 95. But the fuel system may not be able to cope with it, which will lead to corresponding negative consequences. It is important to realize that there are no quality guarantees when visiting a gas station. You may be sold 95 gasoline, but in fact it will be 92 improved with additives. Or they may sell 98, although in reality it is the same 95. And not always additives are added to it. The expectation is that the driver will not check the quality of fuel in laboratories. So in 99.9% of cases it happens. Read also what you need to know about the fuel adsorber mixing 95 with 98. Many people expect that the octane number will increase, and therefore the car will work even better than on pure 95. This is always a potential risk, especially when the fuel comes into the tank from different gas stations. As a result, the opinion on mixing different grades of gasoline is divided. Some do not see anything wrong with such mixes and are sure that the combination of two types of fuel in the gas tank will not cause any harm. Others believe that it is pointless to try to save money by mixing or increase the efficiency of the motor. The composition of modern gasoline is filled with a huge number of additives. Mixing different components, it is hard to predict how the engine will behave. The phenomenon of delamination should not be forgotten. It is indeed common when using different types of fuel. It mainly concerns the combination of lower octane fuels, but it can also happen when creating a mix of AI-95 and AI-98. Again, it's not a given that something terrible or catastrophic will happen to your engine. The engine will run on the top layer fuel first, and then move on to pumping the bottom layer gasoline. And if your car isn't adapted to this type of fuel, then expect trouble. When it's worth blending, you can clearly see that there is no unambiguous answer as to whether you can fill 98 instead of 95 fuel or vice versa. For cars with automatic detonation sensors, this is a safer procedure because the car manufacturer has provided in advance for the possibility of operating the vehicle on different types of fuel. But the presence of this sensor does not mean that AI-92 or AI-80 can be used in a car designed for 98 fuel. Here the calculation is made for the engine to be able to digest fuel with different additives and real octane number. In fact, it is unlikely that there are 98 octane units in AI-98. And the most popular fuel AI-95 does not always have full 95 units. The automatic sensor allows the engine not to choke and not to provoke problems when the combustion chamber receives gasoline with a lower octane number or a slightly different composition of additives than the previous fuel. It is safe to say that mixing different types of fuel in the gas tank is a wrong action. Abuse of such is strongly not recommended. Filling a mix of two types of fuel is recommended only in the most extreme cases. This happens mainly when the driver, out of necessity or desperation, has to go to an unfamiliar gas station. After filling their AI-95, the engine starts to behave incorrectly, the car jerks, shoots, or reacts poorly to the gas pedal. In this situation, it is recommended at the first opportunity to go to a proven gas station, pour literally a few liters of AI-98, and then go to the service station. It is not excluded that instead of AI-95 you have been poured an unknown substance with extremely low octane number and an incomprehensible set of additives. High-quality AI-98 will partially compensate the deficit in octane number and will provide adequate work of the engine for some time. During diagnostics, specialists will check whether the problem is really in the fuel. After all, the occurrence of other breakdowns that have nothing to do with the quality of fuel cannot be excluded. As soon as possible, drain the resulting mixture from the tank. Let even 2 gas stations pour you a good gasoline. Further operation on such a mix can lead to unpredictable consequences. It is not worth the risk, especially if there is no automatic detonation sensor. The drain fuel will come in handy when servicing and repairing the car, when something needs to be washed or cleaned. Mixing 98 and 95 fuel is an extremely subjective issue. Each motorist must decide for himself whether to combine different gasoline or not. The engine's response to such manipulation strongly depends on the specific situation. A huge influence here is exerted by the car itself, its engine, equipment, available electronics, as well as the individual gasoline itself. In one situation, the combination of AI-98 and AI-95 will not affect the engine. But on another car it will lead to breakdowns, burning out of valves, and not only. The end of all this will be engine repair. Whether it is worth taking such a risk, the question is rather rhetorical. No one prevents a motorist to choose a good gas station and constantly refuel with proven good fuel of the same brand. In order not to find yourself in a difficult situation when there is not a single gas station of a proven company on your route, you can simply carry a small canister of gasoline with you. The best solution is to follow the recommendations of your car manufacturer. If the owner's manual says to fill only AI-95, do so. If the car is adapted to different types of fuel, then act according to the situation. On powerful and turbocharged cars, you can fill 95 when operating in the city. And if you are going on a long trip on the highway, where you will be able to show the advantages of all the horsepower and turbine, then the optimal choice will be high-quality AI-98. In conclusion, the primary difference between AI-95 and AI-98 gasoline lies in their octane ratings, which affect engine performance and efficiency. AI-95 is suitable for most vehicles, providing a good balance of power and fuel economy, while AI-98 is designed for high performance engines that require higher compression ratios. Ultimately, the choice between the two depends on your vehicle's specifications and your driving needs. For everyday use, AI-95 is often sufficient, but if you own a high-performance car, AI-98 may offer enhanced performance. Always refer to your vehicle's manual to determine the best fuel for optimal performance and longevity. Thank you for watching, and we hope this information helps you make an informed decision at the pump.